Right, here we go again. Big one. UFC 270. Elliot, thanks for joining me. How are we doing?
We're doing good, man. How are you?
We're good. We're good. Going to start off as we start every show with commiserations for the last week's parlay that didn't come in. Got to say, and I said it last week, I'm on board. I was on board with a bet. I thought, you know what, this is a banker. We got this. And then the one that let you down, you had Giga Chikadze by decision. I think most people probably would agree with that. It seemed like the good choice to top off the parlay, but it wasn't meant to be. Calvin Cater looked unbelievable and got the win. You know, when are we going to turn this tide? I thought we were going to have an unbeaten win streak in 2022, and we were 0-1 to start off with straight away.
You know what? I think I said it last week. If it's a performance like that, I don't even care. Like
Yeah,
Cater deserves full respect, and it shows you how it was never going to get finished. He was never going to get finished. He's one of the most durable fighters I think we've seen now. So you know what? He did full credit to him. I don't mind losing.
yeah, fair enough. We won't get into it just yet, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are we about the UFC 270 parlay?
Out of 10, you know what? I think we're going for about an eight or nine.
Hey, overconfident as always. I like it. Good stuff.
I've got no reason to be this confident, but we go.
Yeah. Anyway, let's jump into things and we'll come back to that shortly. UFC 270, like you said, everybody knows by now this is the big one. I'm absolutely buzzing for all the content that's coming out this week. I love the embeddeds. We get so used to these fight nights, and the fight nights are great. They're happening all the time. They're at the apex. No crowd. We love them. They come thick and fast. But then when these pay-per-views come around, they just feel different. The atmosphere is back. We've got the embeddeds all week. We've got the countdown shows. Obviously, we've got the big fights. We got Joe Rogan. That's when it's big. Joe Rogan makes an appearance. It's just, it's just on another level. I think there's nothing better for MMA fans than a pay-per-view. So I think we're going to start this off because we're chomping at the bit. We're going to start from the top and go with the main event. Francis Ngannou versus Gane. Tons of ways we could start with this one. I'm actually going to start with a little bit of a funny one and ask you a question. Is this sort of one of the more underutilized storylines you think you've come across in the UFC? I think obviously me and you know about it. Lots of people in the MMA community, all the real fans know this storyline. We know that they used to be training partners. They're claiming that they knocked one another out. Francis fell out with a coach and split up from the team. Big rich story there. Do you feel like that's been undertold or undersold a little bit building up to this week? Do you feel like it could be bigger? They could be building this up a lot more, or do you feel like they're doing a good job?
Yeah, I feel that they could do a lot more, especially with Ngannou being the hardest hitter as well, and Gane being the one that slips everything. So it could have been like marketed towards the Wilder Fury kind of campaign, especially with the training partners and the coach. Fernando Lopez is now saying about Ngannou and Gane. Yeah, it seems like I could have done a lot more. You know what? It might still do well because Ngannou is quite a big name.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they could have done a little bit more, build a story up a little bit.
Yeah. I think it definitely still do solid numbers. But no, I think one of the main problems is it's got to be because it's the only thing that really makes sense. Because we know that Francis Ngannou and probably Cyril Gane, which we'll get to shortly, but Francis Ngannou could be one of the biggest stars ever in the UFC. I think it's safe to say. We can see that he's sort of breaking into that next level now. He's making appearances on Jackass, and we've seen him on social media letting Ryan Garcia punch him in the stomach, and it's just that sort of next level where you break into the mainstream and you're getting here and there and everywhere. And Francis Ngannou has got the look, he's got the power, he's the world heavyweight champion in the UFC, which basically means you are the hardest person on the planet. I mean, there's a lot there to go off, and as we say, I haven't seen a lot. I think I always tend to judge it off whether the casuals are talking about it. Obviously, I've got family, friends, or people at work who will suddenly become big UFC fans when there's a big card like Conor McGregor and they're suddenly telling you about what's going to happen in the fight. Haven't had that at all personally with Francis Ngannou this weekend. I haven't had anyone say, oh, Ngannou's fighting, or what about the ex-training partner he's fighting, or any of that. I haven't heard of people about it from the casuals, to be honest. So that's how I tend to base it off, to be honest. Just other general public talking about it, and I don't think they are for this one.
Um, I
Sorry,
was
go
to
on.
say that actually. I looked at Bet365 on Twitter, and they put a poll up who's going to win between Ngannou and Gane. So the odds are saying Gane is going to win. He's the favourite. But on the poll, it said it was like 90% Ngannou. It might have changed now, whatever. But Ngannou was like kind of the favourite to win on this poll. And then I saw some comments under it. It was saying, "Oh, Ngannou's going to knock him out," and so on. I was thinking, those who kind of know Ngannou would just think he's going to win because Ngannou the hardest hitter and things like that. But yeah, they could have done a lot more. And it's weird. Gane's not really being pushed so much either because his performances are not like finishes, instant finishes. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. I think the UFC is probably caught between who they want to push, if that makes sense, because you've got Ngannou, who is the obvious choice for the star and they want to push, but at the same time, he's having all these contract issues. It sounds like his manager doesn't get along too well with the UFC as well. He's saying that he's probably done with the UFC after this unless he gets a significantly better contract. So they're having all these problems and they're thinking we're not going to put all this marketing budget and all this power behind Ngannou just for him to take that somewhere else, and they might go off boxing or another organization. Who knows what he's going to do after this fight? But I think they're sort of caught between how much do we push this when he might be gone next week, and if we sort of push Gane and then he gets knocked out by Ngannou, that just gives more to Gane again. So you're sort of stuck in a funny position, I think, which is why we sort of got this stalemate of we'll do what we need to get out there, sell some pay-per-views, but they haven't sort of gone that extra mile like we see with some of the big boys. So yeah, going to be an interesting week anyway, whatever happens with the fights, to see what happens after that, in terms of whether he'll extend his contract or reconcile with Dana White. We'll see what happens there. So for Cyril Gane then, how high do you think his ceiling is? Obviously, he's an amazing fighter, but as you sort of said earlier, he doesn't quite give that impact that Ngannou does to the sort of casual fans, because we don't see him being reckless. We don't see him just knocking people out cold or doing anything too fancy. Absolute unbelievable fighter, and he does finish people as well. But he's a lot more technical. Could maybe even sort of compare him in boxing terms to a bit more of a Tyson Fury. Obviously, he's sort of broke through now, but he was never sort of a massively exciting fighter before the sort of Wilder trilogy, I think it's fair to say. And Gane's sort of that guy as well, ultra talented, doesn't really get hit, but not hugely exciting for the casual fan. If he wins this fight, how sort of high do you think his ceiling could be in terms of breaking out and being a star?
Oh, I think he could be massive. I really do. And I watched the embedded videos, and he comes across like a really like a kind of cool guy that can appeal to a lot of people.
Mm.
He's kind of got that swagger. Do you know what I mean? With like PSG football, for example, he's wearing all the PSG stuff. They've got like a new identity. I think Gane kind of pushes towards that. And I think imagine if he wins against Ngannou, that's quite big regardless. It'd be cool if he called out someone quite big, like a John Jones or someone like that. I think that would push it to the next level, because I think John Jones is still a relatively big name in the world of
Oh yeah,
casuals anyway.
yeah, massively. Yeah, he did sort of mention that at his media day. He said that if he does beat Ngannou, that's the next fight that they're going to try and get done. As you say, I think that's a good way to elevate your stardom. If you can go to capture the belt, beat Francis Ngannou, then if he fights and beats John Jones, there's possibly no better back-to-back win in the history of the sport than that. So yeah, definitely, as you say, I think on top of all those things, anybody that wins fights, keeps winning fights, and especially at heavyweight, it's impossible not to become a star, I think, because it's just so hard done. It's so impressive to be that big and at that level and keep winning. So, he's undefeated so far. If he can keep it going against the best, yeah, I see nothing stopping him from being a big star. So I'm going to put you on the spot then and start with you, because it's a tough one. Predictions. I've gone back and forth so many times in this fight, so I hope it's not in your parlay. Don't tell me yet, but I wouldn't bet on this fight. What we saying? Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane. What's happening?
I change my mind all the time because I'm trying to get away from looking at what other people are saying, because they kind of appear as Gane is going to win on points. That's what everyone's kind of saying. But I could see Gane really do like this whole new game plan. Like he showed a little bit against Stipe with the takedown. The takedown in his wrestling and things like that, which is really impressive.
Mm.
But I think something weird's going to happen. I'm going to go Gane finish. Don't ask me why or how. I just think Gane finish.
Gut feeling. It's such a tough one. I think I'm edging back to Gane again, and this is what I always do with these big fights. I think into it way too much, and I make up storylines that don't exist. That's what I tend to do. So with Ngannou, And I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't exist because it kind of does, but obviously the story with Ngannou before was he already had a problem with Dana White when he got his first title shot against Stipe. He already was apparently not showing up to media obligations and things. Dana White said whatever he said, I can't exactly remember, but something to the effect of he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder, sort of thinks he's big time. Francis came into that fight, got beaten pretty easily, and sort of admitted himself. He was like, yeah, I thought I was untouchable. I thought I'd just come in and beat people, and I wasn't right. So he sort of humbled himself a bit, and then that's when he went on. Well, obviously he had another lackluster fight after that, but then he sort of got that hunger back and went on to a nice win streak, which got him the belt. And I feel like he could be getting back into that bad position again, that bad headspace where he seems once he's on top, he wants a lot, and obviously he deserves a lot, but he's talking about the money again. He's saying, I'm not fighting for 600 grand a fight or anything like that. He wants the $1 million contracts. He's not afraid to be very vocal and sort of fall out with Dana. So I just have to wonder where his headspace is in that situation. We've seen how bad he looked in the first Stipe fight. How gassed out he was. And then, yeah, I just think Gane is a total opposite of that. I think Gane is so cool, calm, and collected. He's going to be so tactical. And I think if Ngannou comes out sort of with a bit of a chip on his shoulder, trying to prove a point, swinging for Gane, it's probably the last thing you want to do because Gane is just too smart for that. I don't think it'll work against him. We're not going to be able to see Ngannou do a sort of Rosenstrike approach and just come out and start absolutely swinging at Gane because I just think he's too high level for that type of thing. So yeah, I think that I could see Gane weathering the early storm because he doesn't get hit much, and then as Ngannou starts to slow down a little bit, I think Gane will take over, and I think maybe a decision or a late TKO we could see. So yeah, I'm going with Gane. The names are starting to sound too similar. The more I say Ngannou and Gane, I feel like I'm talking about the same person, but
yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo 3 up next. One of the few trilogies that we see in the UFC. A little bit of a unique one in the sense that the first fight was a draw. So I guess you could sort of argue that even after the third one, it's not completely definitive, depending on how it goes, obviously. If Brandon Moreno wins, then fair enough. But if Figueiredo wins, then it's still sort of 1-1, really. And they might end up sort of running another one. Who knows? One thing I think is interesting about this is Brandon Moreno comes in a decently heavy favourite, which I just think's, not crazy. But if you think back to the first fight, I haven't got the odds, but that first fight, he must have been a huge underdog for the first time they fought. And then obviously the fight to a draw because of the point deduction on Figueiredo. So everybody's still pretty heavily favouring Figueiredo on the second fight. But then Brandon Moreno blows through him. Do you agree with the odds on this one? Do you think you fancy Moreno pretty heavily, or are you still not too sure?
I understand why he's the favourite, but I wouldn't go I wouldn't say a heavy favourite in how I don't think it should be that way. Figueiredo as well. I was going over his recent performances and what he did to Benavidez, for example. The guy is scary for a flyweight.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he have a problem in his last fight? Did he say he had a bad weight cut or something like that? I know he had it for the first fight. I think he said he spent like a night in hospital or something.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Like, I definitely did see videos of him in hospital after the first fight because of his weight cut. I think it's actually before as well. I think he's in hospital right before the fight as well. Because it was a quick weight cut turnaround for him, wasn't it? He fought Alex Perez not long before and then had to make the weight again. So he definitely had some issues, but you don't really know to what extent. Because if you have the issues the first fight, his whole story coming at the second fight was, I'm not going to have them issues again, and then I'm going to beat him. And he looked even worse in the second fight. So it's hard to sort of buy into it a third time and say, he's going to fix some issues this time, and now he's really going to get him. But have you seen the pictures of him, Figueiredo?
About him being shredded.
He looks absolutely shredded. So there's surely no weight cut excuse for this one. Like, he looks like he hasn't had a carb since the second fight. He looks absolutely. He looks like that brother from Step Brothers. Like, he's, just oiled up abs is to perfection.
He's an absolute machine. I think in my head it should be even. Figueiredo, I mean, he's 20-2 and he's an absolute machine. And I've still got that image of him choking Benavidez and Benavidez like crying out for air,
awful, isn't it?
Some oxygen. Yeah, it's still pictured in my brain. It's like I can't get over it. And in fact, you can do that to Benavidez, who is a great fighter. He's just maybe a little bit past his time now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you're saying he should be an underdog or a massive underdog against Moreno. Moreno is, he's world class, of course he is, but it's going to be a lot closer than what I think people initially think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Figueiredo's got that sort of X factor, hasn't he? Even if you thought Moreno was a lot more talented, it just Figueiredo, you feel like he could just knock you out or submit you out of nowhere. He's just got that extra bit of pop in him, hasn't he? So yeah, again, I could watch these two fight probably 10 times and still probably have the same discussions with you every time. Not sure who's going to win, so I'm looking forward to that one massively. How do you feel about the Henry Cejudo storyline? Have you seen much about this where Figueiredo's, so he's been training with Henry Cejudo, and Henry Cejudo used to train with Brandon Moreno, and they're sort of trying to create this narrative of Brandon Moreno betrayed Henry Cejudo. Once he sort of made it big, he left him, didn't need him anymore, and now Figueiredo's saying, "No, I'm going to take Moreno's head off and give it to Cejudo, and he's going to be in his corner." It sounds a little bit WWE for me personally. I know some people are into that, but you're buying this storyline, or you think Cejudo's just sort of worming his way into the headlines again?
I know. I think Cejudo definitely has maybe a chip on his shoulder a little bit when anyone doesn't take his advice, because look at him, what he's achieved. So I think anyone who kind of goes against him, he's always going to have a bit of hatred towards maybe. But you know what? I buy into storylines because I think it just makes that like a fight that much more exciting. So I'd imagine he'd been practicing a lot of his wrestling ready for Moreno, because Moreno I think he has a really, really good wrestling background.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong. So it's probably around that, and Cejudo's definitely got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. So you think Cejudo's going to jump the cage if Moreno wins and start all that fight? That could so easily happen. Like, flyweight isn't exactly crying out for the next title challenger. I don't know what Cejudo's weight's like these days, because he was just asking for a featherweight title fight. But I feel like he could make it. Obviously, he was champ of that division. That could so easily happen. He could be secretly using Figueiredo to build this storyline. I feel like saying, this is all about me and getting it in there. And then if Moreno wins, it's okay. I want to fight my former teammate who betrayed me now, and I'll avenge Figueiredo and stuff like that. I feel like he's trying to get as many storylines in his back pocket as possible to try and use to get that big money fight, I think.
I don't think Dana White's going to allow it. I think he's done with Cejudo now, and I think he's trying to teach him a lesson. So I think Cejudo's doing everything he can to try and get a fight lined up for himself.
Yeah, he probably won't even let him corner him. He just stop him at the gate. Nah.
Yeah.
Stuff. Do you think they could do a fourth then? Let's sort of mention that first. That first one was a draw. Let's say Figueiredo wins this one. How easy is it, do you think, to sell a fourth one, or do you just think enough is enough?
I think they shouldn't waste. If there's going to be a fourth fight, don't waste it straight away.
Mm-hmm.
Let them fight some other people. Let them build it up again, because no doubt they're going to be around at the same level of that kind of competition again years to come. Because the only people I'm thinking of now around that kind of level is Kai France. He's around that way, and Askarov. I think I pronounced it right.
Yeah.
Who I think Moreno has a draw against already, and I think them four are kind of like the top four fighters.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're going to meet again soon, or have come across each other soon. So why waste a fourth one?
Yeah, fair enough. No, I agree. Absolutely. Yeah, let things play out a little bit, and then if it's absolutely needed, we can do that again. But hopefully not straight away, because that'll be 4 in a row as well. Not just 4 fights, but 4 in a row. So I think Alejandro, that's how you pronounce it, Pantoja, I think he'll be next. He was supposed to be next, but he wasn't quite ready. So let's let that one play out next, and then see where we're at after that. Good stuff. So obviously that's the 2 main fights, the title fights. I think it's fair to say below that it's not the most stacked card. Again, from a sort of casual viewing perspective, there's not too many names that pop out on the screen, or too many ranked names on the card, but definitely some fun matchups. What sort of another fight on the card that you're particularly looking forward to?
So I've done just some research on Michael Pereira versus Andre Fialho, I think it is. I think it's a Portuguese fighter. And he's got like 12 finishes and 14 of his wins. And obviously Pereira, just a madman. It's always fun. I'm really excited for that fight. There's a few I've looked at, but I don't want to go into too much detail now. But yeah, Michael Pereira, I think that's worthy of a kind of like the co-main, like that one just beneath the first title fight. Michael Pereira is an absolute superstar is so fun to watch. A superstar in the aspect of always puts on a show, as opposed to getting these like new viewers in.
Yeah, as you say, it's good for that. I think it's very tactical where they've put him on the card, because right before we get to them big ones, you get him in there. He's just going to get everyone hyped up, flipping around, backflips, whatever the hell he did to Nico Price, where he sort of front flip, kicked him in the mouth while he was laid down, whatever you call that. He's going to get everyone well up for it. So, yeah, I think that's a good shout where they've put him on the card. I'm going to go for the obvious choice because I always do this, but Cody Stamen was nice enough to give me some of his time this week. But I am genuinely really looking forward to that one. I think that's a bigger fight than a lot of people are giving it credit for. It spoke to Cody this week. Obviously, it's the first time he's come off back-to-back losses in his career, but it's to Jimmy Rivera, who's an absolute monster. He was like 22-0 at one point. And then his last fight was against Merab Divishvili. Probably not saying that right at all, but there you go. But I mean, that's two absolute beasts. No shame in losing them two. I think Merab's possibly future champion for me. Definitely up there. And
I agree.
And yeah, I mean, he's got some good wins on his record. He's only lost to the absolute best, like your Aljamain Sterling's and things like that. Putting a good performance against Song Yadong. So yeah, he's fighting Sedna Magomedov. Sed's got a lot of hype around him. A lot of people think that he could be the next big thing, but I don't think he's really had that test yet. And that's what Cody is to him. So, I think this will really sort of a bantamweight contender will emerge out of this one. And obviously it's a must win for Cody. Nobody wants to lose 3 in a row. That, gets to sort of risky territory if you're going to lose 3 in a row in the UFC. So his back's against the wall a little bit in that one. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And I want to just highlight, what Cody does. He never turns down an a hard fight. I'd imagine so many people turn down. I'm going to say call him. Is it Saeed Nurmagomedov? Probably butchered it, but yeah, he's got so much hype. He's come from a few finishes now in a row, and Stamen could easily say no and try and pick an easier fight to try and come back 100%. On. But yeah, the guy, credit to him, he's an incredibly tough fighter, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, 100%. Good stuff. So the parlay then, if I'm done hyping them up for you at this point. It's just until you start winning some, the floor is yours, just go for it. But I'm not getting people excited for these anymore.
Yeah, right. We're going to win. It's a bit easier this time, I think, which obviously means it's not. I've actually gone against Stamen in this case because I just looked at purely objectively. Nurmagomedov is coming off some like fantastic performances. So a betting perspective, I've gone for him.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone Michael Pereira by finish, and I just think in that case against Fiallo, he's a massive favourite. I could be wrong, but I think Fiallo actually took it on short notice. There was meant to be another fighter. I might be wrong, and it's just been moved, but I'm pretty sure there's another.
No, that's right. Yeah, it was. I can't remember now, but yeah, Fiallo stepped in on late notice. It was meant to be for last weekend's card, wasn't it, to make his debut, and then they pushed it to this card. So yeah, that's right.
So I've got so Pereira by finish. Have you seen him recently? He is shredded as well. He didn't need to be any bigger for his weight class, but yeah, absolutely massive. And I've done Rodolfo Vieira to win against Wellington Turman by finishes as well. We've seen about his jiu-jitsu skills and things like that. It's just out of this world. Despite his first loss, Hernandez, I think it was, where the 33-1 submission went against him. But yeah, I've got Vieira by finish, Pereira by finish, and Nurmagomedov just outright. But it's 5-1. It could happen, but like we discussed with Stamen, don't be surprised if he comes and wins through like a decision. Stamen comes through because, like we said before, just one of the toughest people we've seen on this card.
Yeah, I feel like Pereira's a little bit of a wild card as well. But as you say, the circumstances, he's been ready for a fight for a while. His Fiallo was stepping in on late notice for his debut as well. We've seen a lot of people not perform at the best for the debut. I think quite a big adrenaline dump. And you could imagine adrenaline dump, running out of gas a little bit, and you got Michael Pereira coming at you of all sorts. It would possibly get a little bit daunting. So yeah, we'll see. I'm going to reserve judgment. I might pick the opposite bet to you and come in a winner next week.
Oh yeah, that'll come through.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll see how it goes. Right, nice one, mate. Really appreciate it. Buzzing for this one. Absolutely can't wait. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to next week already, where we can talk about what's happened and what's next for people. We're going to go live next week, since every time we do a show, by the time it gets uploaded, the whole card's changed and broken news has come out and all sorts. So from next week, we're going to be going live. Yeah, looking forward to that. And thank you very much.
Thank you.